Thank you. I appreciate that. Welcome, everyone. This session is session number 5, Innovation Towards Digital Economics. We have 5 presenters. So we will have 10 minutes for each presenter, and then we'll have 10 minutes at the end for questions. So we might as well get started, I suppose. Our first presenter is Dr. Samir Al-Bahri. He's a professor from the University of Kebangsaan in Malaysia. And so if he could go from, what's 12 o'clock my time to 12:10, that would be great. So take it away, Dr. Al-Bahri.
Excuse me, Professor James Strong, I don't want to interrupt you. Professor Samir have 20 minutes.
Okay, yeah, he's down for 2 presentations. That's correct. Yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
Go ahead, Professor Samir.
Thank you so much. I don't know, good morning, good evening. So actually I'm in Malaysia, and there's around 5 hours difference between Malaysia and Kuwait. So it's already 1 a.m. here. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be here in this event, Dr. Hanadi, James also, and all other participants. So maybe I will take just something different about my topic today, or my talk. It is somehow about technology and about engineer, actually, as I am from the field of communication engineering. So let me talk here about this topic, symmetric-wide band 5 port reflectometer junction for early cancer detections. So I will talk in something maybe different. I just attend for 1 hour before, so mostly they talk about economics. So this is also somehow, but it is about technology. So I think all of you knows about cancer detection and, about cancer disease or tumor, which is very, very dangerous, and it's affecting all human bodies around the world. So, but also for cancer disease or tumor, it's not only about the cancer itself, but how we can detect it and when we can detect it. So mostly there is so many devices actually around the world, which is, for example, MRI scanner and CT scan, so many other devices that can be used. But actually those kind of devices is not available actually for anyone. It's also maybe available for those rich countries, not for poor countries, and also it cannot be found for many other regions also as well. So sometimes the patient, they can detect the cancer, but unfortunately it is in very late, and it cannot be diagnosis at that time. So that's why we are trying to find any other issue instead of using this kind of high cost devices by inventions, or try to design, develop another devices which can be available for everybody around the world, and it be also low cost. So that's why now, instead of using that kind of magnetic scanner, MRI or other things, we are using RF signals. I don't know if maybe there's some of the participants as engineers, so they will understand what, somehow what I'm talking about. So this kind of devices here, we try to develop it here at Malaysia, UKM, and incorporate also with some other universities. So using RF signals. So this is what we call it, reflectometer, using the frequency radio signals. If you can see to this slide here, so here I have only something we call it the source. Source is in the left side, and also device under test in the right side. And in between the junction that we are developing, which is called 6-port reflectometer. So this is the theory of the 6-port reflectometer. So whatever you have here in the source is something we call RF signals, which is always continuous sending a signal in the device called 6-port reflectometer. Device under test is the body of the human that we are testing, and we are trying to detect that cancer in early stage. So, and at here in the middle, you can see that P1, P2, P3, P4. So here we are collecting the signal that is was transmitted to the device under test and reflected also back to the junction here. So this is the kind of invention that we are trying to develop. So in general, those 3 or 4 ports here, as you can see from P1 to P4, for us as engineer, it is like something like intersection between the whole signals that we receive from device under test, and then we are processing this data, and then we can say that the cancer disease was found in this portion, and it is an early stage or not early stage, and what's the size of that cancer, and so on. So I will explain this one more in the upcoming slides. Okay. If you can see that one is called 6-port reflectometer, which is the theory. So we develop here in our university something we call it 5-port reflectometer. So means that we reduce from 6-port until 5-port. And also those 5-port, if you can look to this figure, that those ports are symmetric. So means that each one you can use. You don't have to think that which one will be the source or which one will be a device under test. So it is very easy. So it's not being that this, for example, hospital or whatever. So it can be used also for some other places and some other people, they can use it. So yeah, maybe here in this slide, I can explain it mostly and it will be more clearly. So assume that this is here the tumor, for example, here in the breast cancer, liver or whatever in the chest. So we develop it like this. I will try to do it like this. So if you can see here in the middle, this is the junctions that we are trying to develop in our university. Here is the signal source on the right side. Okay, so the signal source under RF signals, mostly here we use it at 2.4, sometimes at 3 gigahertz. We try also to use it for lower band, but mostly we are facing some problems in terms of penetration of the body of human body. So signal source will always continue sending a signal to this junction. Then if you can see here, this signal will be going to the other port here. So from the port 1 to port 2, it will be connected to something we call it ultra-wideband antenna. So ultra-wideband antenna here, actually, by the way, the human body is here and here is the phantom. So mostly this device, once we develop, so we are not using tested directly to the human body, but we develop something we call it phantom, which is which is replace the body of the human body just for our test and for our experimental results. So as I said, signal source will always continue sending signal to the junction, and then ultra-wideband antenna will always send signal through the phantom, and some of this signal will be reflected to the same antenna. So the antenna will be working here as transceiver. So the reflected signal will be coming back again to the junctions, which is called multi-port reflectometer, and the whole data will be collected by these junctions, and it will be go here to something we call it the power detector, and then it will be transferred actually from analog signal to digital signal, and then all data will be going to something we call it microcontroller. We are processing this data using a kind of algorithm, and then we can detect the cancer disease based on some data that we already have it for the body of the human, which don't have any cancer disease, and we will take the difference between the data. I mean, if the data that we collected from the human is without any cancer, for example, and the data that we have is also without cancer, so the difference between them will be 0. If there's any kind of difference, then it can show you what that cancer or tumor and what is the size exactly for that one. So still up to now, we are developing this kind of technology using RF signals. And I hope so that inshallah ta'ala in future it can be available for many countries. So, okay. For this junction, actually, one of the things that we develop here in terms of design and fabricate also and making experimental, this junction, which is called multi-layer junction, using different kind of substrates here, something like FR4, taconic, we use Rogers as well. So, and if you can see here that this junction will be in the middle of this multi-layer. So the junction will be used here as a transmitter and receiver as well. If you can see the ground here, will be in the top and the bottom. Okay. So many softwares actually we have used also in this kind of technology. We use ADS, we use CST, HFSS. Those who are working in engineering, they will understand that those technology or those softwares also is very important for us to understand. So after we get the simulated result, which is more accurate, then we go for fabrication. For example, in this figure here, you can see that we fabricate this one using FR4 material, and also we use some other material which is better than this one. But the good thing is here that we got the exact result, mostly the exact result between simulated and measured result. Before we apply this one in our the whole system. In our lab, actually, mostly we test all of these things. We have alhamdulillah facilities here to test and measure all our devices here. If you can see here, we tested using this VNA, which is called VNA, 2 ports, just to see the transmitted and reflected signal. Yeah, here is another materials that we call taconic. This one will give us more accurate result because the permittivity of this one is lower than FR4. And here is the result of the VNA. As I said, to make sure that our results is correct here, so we use more than one software, for example, ADS and CST. And mostly we compare our results here. This is actually the simulated result before we go for fabrication result. And you can say that both of them is almost same. The frequency that we have been used here is wide band, starting from almost 1.5 gigahertz up to 5.4 gigahertz, which is very wide band frequency. That's why, like, for example, MRI, which is actually more accurate and at the same time is high costly, they use mostly lower than 1 gigahertz. That's why the MRI, if you can see, it is very big, huge in terms of size. And our device that we are developing here is very small because we use a high frequency range above 1 gigahertz. So as you can see, the result using different software is still accurate and similar. Okay, here is just another figure about the reflection coefficients of this device that we are developing here. And just we can see that the width of these junctions will affect the result. Actually, our standard here is something called -10 dB. If you look to the figure, -10 dB is our standard. So those results which is below -10 dB can be taken in serious here in the practical things here. So the width of the junctions will affect the result so much, not the length. Okay, in terms of the comparison between simulated and measured results, it's almost also same, comparable. It is very comparable. This is actually for FR4 in terms of S11 and S21. What we are meaning here about S11 and S21, the transmitted signal from port 1 to port 2 or port 1 to port 3, and the reflection coefficients also means that the signal which is transmitted and reflected by the same port. Since we have 5 ports here in our symmetric wideband reflectometer, so S11, S22, S33, all are same results. So between measured and simulated, also the result is comparable. Okay, one main thing is here in this invention here for early cancer detections, something we call it magnitude and phase. Magnitude and phase. So the magnitude as a theory that the magnitude of the frequency that you are going to use for S11 or S21, it has some theory. So for S11, it should be lower as possible as you can. So almost to zero, almost to zero. But for S21, S13, S14, something like that. So it should be somehow around 0.5, around 0.5. So for our invention here, so almost the result is also same. if you can see in the figure on the right side and the left side. So as a magnitude, the S11 is almost up to 0, and also the simulated and measured or fabricated result almost same. And for S21 or S12, S13, around 0.5, and also between simulated and measured result, we get it same. In the right side here, also we compare the phase, since that one is magnitude. So now we compare the phase. If you remember just on the previous slides, I said that one port will be used as the source transmitted. Another port will be used as transmitter receiver for the antenna, which is always transmit and receive signal from the human body. So the remaining three ports will collect the data. So the phase here is very important. So mostly, since there are three ports remaining from 5, so the difference phase between each one of them and the other is 125 degree. So if you can see here also, the phase between S12 and S13 is almost on that level. Okay. And also same, also phase between simulated and measured result, almost the result is same. I'm trying just to be hurry up, then maybe if there is any question, then I can answer about that one. So if you can see here also, we summarize here in this table about the magnitude at 2 gigahertz, which is the resonance frequency. Yes, between theory, simulated, measured result, mostly the error is almost about to be 0 here, so not so much error can be found. After all of these things, after we design, fabricate, modeling everything here about our devices here, so we try then to test it here in terms of finding some phantom, which is replacing the human body. We choose here the breast actually, and also we even tested in the brain phantom. If you can see here, there is a receiver here, so the junction will be in the middle, and also surround that junction there will be more than one antennas, which can be used, I mean, as a transceiver, and then the data can be collected using the VNA. All of this done in our lab. So one of the results that we get it here after many researches about this kind of thing is that, yeah, the human body, which is affected by this kind of cancer, can be detected and can be measured using these devices. And as I said, still we are developing this kind of devices. And I hope so that soon this can be used maybe by practically, I mean, in the hospitals and something like that. So after a while, actually, we publish many papers, also many publications in Web of Science about these inventions. Still, inshallah ta'ala, we will publish more. So Dr. Hadi, you said more than 10 minutes, or actually I prepare myself in 10 minutes. So, but by the way, this is the conclusion here. I think there is many results here. I put it in my conclusion in terms and some specific results that we have gotten here. So yeah, just I try to be rush. Here is the yes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Nadia and James.
Thank you. Professor James Strong, the next speaker. It's I think the first captain is Khalaf. There are Isa Al-Kamali. He will present instead of this presenter.
Oh,
Isa
okay.
Al-Kamali.
All right. And he has until what, 12:30, right?
He has
Right.
10 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. 10 minutes, which is close to 12:30. All right. Go ahead, sir.
Good day, everyone. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to take a quick moment just to thank Dr. Hanadi and the following organizers for giving us an opportunity to present in this wonderful conference. It is truly a pleasure. I could share my screen, right? Oh, yes. Sorry. So yes, I hope you're all doing well. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Lieutenant Engineer Isa Al-Kamali. And I work as the Intellectual Property Branch Manager at the General Directorate of Residency and Foreign Affairs, Dubai, which is short for GDRFAD. So today I will be taking you on a quick journey towards pioneering innovation at GDRFAD. I'm sorry, I can't switch slides. I'm sorry. Yeah. So bear in mind that our main focus today would be on innovation at the government sector. Now, innovation at the UAE government was a new term back in 2014, where we focused on shaping a new way of life that ensures that the added value or the created value is both resilient and sustainable in the long run. So back in 2017, we were evaluated by the Dubai government to see how well we are in innovation. Now, the results showed that we were still in our mature stage. We were at our low stages, and that we needed to build a stronger foundation. Of course, that is where we started our pathway towards focusing on excellence in innovation. And so we started to look into the best practices from around the world, particularly in frameworks, to build a stronger foundation in innovation. Moreover, we made a strategy that supports innovation in our workplace, and we focused on building the framework itself, as well as an organizational structure in itself. So among the base, of course, our innovation strategy, as you can see over here, showcases our main values and our mission and vision strategy. The innovation framework itself, so after looking into best practices, of course, this framework was based on a best practice acquired from the Global Innovation Institute, GINI. So it consists of 6 main pillars. So we have the foundation, which showcases the sponsorships and leadership, the enablers, which talks about the training and resources, the procedures when we focus on governance and metrics, as well as the processes, engagement by having learning societies, and of course, reinforcement by recognizing and awarding the innovative individuals, and financing by focusing on funding and budgeting processes. Of course, those were some of our initiatives back in 2021. Among them was to establish the Future Innovators platform and create a portfolio management for the projects, as well as focus on the Foster Innovators program. Of course, among our enablers, those are 6 of our main enablers, which I will discuss in the next slides. Just a quick recap. So we have the institutional integration system, the innovation solution model, the research experimentation and development, innovation portfolio, as well as the Foster Innovators program. Of course, we back in 2020, we got our accreditation for the innovation assessors, which were internal employees, and they got their accreditation from the Global Innovation Institute to be assessors. And therefore, according to the GINI standards, we were evaluated internally, and we were lucky enough to have a score of 8.52, which showcases us in the highest level possible, which is leader standard. Of course, when we talk about the innovation readiness ratio, so we have an innovation index, which is basically a questionnaire released by the Dubai government that determines our innovation maturity rates. During that time, from the time frame between 2017 to 2021, we focused mainly on changing the overall mindset of the employees in the organization. So we tried to give them more into an entrepreneurship kind of mindset, to focus on building relationships and of course, focusing on building innovations together. Because like innovations with the right leadership and with the right hierarchy can guarantee everyone moving along together and basing their innovations together to come up with the best possible solution. And so we notice over here a drastic change from 2017 to 2021 by almost 21.2%. So this was our score back in 2021, 91.2%. We're very happy to have achieved that. Of course, we have the institutional integration system. So since innovation is not actually isolated, we made sure to merge innovation into all of our organizational stages. And therefore, we've showcased this system, which focuses on 4 main pillars, like the planning, the development creativity, implementation, and reviewing and evaluation. We have also developed an innovation solution model, which focuses on 3 main steps overall in determining the innovative ideas, going through the research, experimentation, and development, all the way to sharing that knowledge. And among those steps, of course, the research, experimentation, and development, we have developed based on our small studio. We work on projects alongside all of the employees within the organization. We have developed the RED, which focuses on 5 main stages. We have the research stage, the design stage, the experimentation stage, as well as the learning and development stage. Of course, we focus primarily on the project's portfolio itself. So we work in an agile kind of manner, of course, having the incremental improvements to build our own resilience along the way. So we focus on the 3 main horizons, which are consecutively Horizon 1, 2, and 3, rated at 70%, 20%, and 10%, given their time frame. Of course, they focus on 3 different time frames. So starting from 1 to 3 years for the Horizon 1 and 3 to 10 years for Horizon 2, which is mid-stage, and of course, Horizon 3, which focuses on future steps. So we work on that to get the right value from the departments and to be reliable in the future, because let's not forget that we work in a fast-changing environment and fast-changing world. So we have to adapt to the changes. Of course, a quick example would be the smart corridor system. So before, we used to have in the UAE airports, we used to have our normal entry permits system processes, which took around 5 to 10 minutes to process each individual, and in some cases 15 minutes. Upon working on development, we have come up with the smart corridor system, which reduced that time drastically from 5 to 10 minutes all the way to 7 to 15 seconds. And of course, we had an overall customer satisfaction rate to 96% based on that. Of course, we have the Foster Innovators Program. So the Foster Innovators Program focuses on delegating employees within the organization. So they go through intensive exams to be selected from within our overall 5,000 employees. So we get to select 15 out of the 5,000 employees to each year to work on the Innovators Program. But in the upcoming years, that was in the first year back in 2018. But in the upcoming years, we focused on getting more and more innovators, and we focused on assigning them with challenges that are based in our workplace, and they get to work on coming up with innovative solutions in the end. Of course, upon graduating, so some of the numbers when we talk about the innovators, so they came up with the Innovative Foster Program came up with 12 projects proposed in total. Among them would be the Hatta Fast Track. We've had in the year 2021 a total amount of 57 participants. We were very lucky to have them. Upon graduation, they get into some sort of an alumni system that we have built, which is the Innovation Pioneers Club. So to recognize their hard work, we get to help them come up with new solutions to the challenges in ideation processes. And so far we have 11 participants in there. Of course, innovation has to focus on partnerships, specifically strategic partnerships, to come up with better solutions. And where better than to focus with academia. Therefore, we've had the chance to work with 45 university students from different universities within the UAE. And we were lucky enough to come up with 9 proposed projects with them. Of course, it is important to register the projects and the prototypes within the patents and intellectual property. Therefore, we have also built a stage to fill out forms and register intellectual property for each employee within the organization. And so far, we have come up with 310 intellectual properties registered. Of course, this is our ideation journey. which basically showcases each step from starting by joining the suggestions portal all the way to the suggestions committee, and then by determining the type of idea, whether it was feasible, non-feasible, the type of feasibility. And then there will be a follow-up, whether it was a creative idea, meaning it needs implementation, or if it was an innovative idea, which means that it's going to come into the research, experimentation, development to come up with prototypes in development. And of course, those are some of the numbers that we would like to showcase in the ideation stage. So on the right, we have the total amount of ideas proposed in a year. And of course, we have in the middle percentage of implemented ideas from the feasible ideas. And on your left, you have the number of employees who participated in the suggestions portal overall. Of course, let's not forget to recognize and award the employees. And each year we have an awards, the annual awards ceremony. And for the year 2021, we focused on awarding different categories. And we were lucky enough to have 602 awardees within the categories.
Dr. Al-Kamali, I think you have a minute left.
Yeah, sure. I only have 2 more slides.
Okay.
So based on the training programs, it is important to let all employees work on innovation courses, and therefore we made sure to have all 4,962 employees work within the courses that are related to innovation within our internal platform. And of course, some of the numbers in our knowledge management, we've had a virtual conference and gathered 3,696 employees from within the Dubai government sector. And we have a satisfaction rate of 97%. And to conclude, so all of this hard work by working together alongside each other has helped us to be lucky enough to achieve the first place in the Dubai government in 2021 in the innovation criteria. We were very lucky enough to have achieved this, and we will look forward into achieving even better results in the upcoming future. That concludes my presentation. I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask me.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Al-Kamali. We appreciate it. Our Nick, we'll save the questions for the last 10 minutes. And our next speaker is Trent Simmons, who is from Spirit of the Game Foundation Managing Director. And if he could go until about 10 minutes. So, Trent, you here?
Yes, I'm here, and somebody else is sharing their screen still, so we can get.
Isa, excuse me, Isa, can you stop sharing the screen?
Yes, I apologize. I just closed that.
All righty. Okay, well, I'm going to talk fast because basically we have a hour-long webinar condensed down into 10 minutes for you all. But Spirit of the Game Foundation was formed to help individuals and organizations take personal accountability for maximizing their positive impact on the world. So we work in a wide array of areas and several different divisions, everything ranging from women's empowerment, youth leadership, climate and sustainability, and of course, entrepreneurial support. So the quick takeaway that we want to leave everybody with from this presentation is really that impact is for everyone. Because if you ask a typical entrepreneur, what is your social impact platform? How is your company going to benefit society beyond just whatever the good and services that you are providing? Up until recently, a typical entrepreneur would give you the answer of, we don't know, because we have no idea if we're even going to be successful. Once we start making money, once we're solid, then we'll worry about those extra things, that ability to have a positive impact on society. And again, up until recently, that was a pretty valid approach. That, yeah, you don't worry about what the good you're going to do with the money until you actually know that you're actually going to be making that money. However, the rise of conscious consumerism, of people making choices deliberately based on the social impact platform of that company and deliberately choosing to align themselves as consumers with the values of companies who share those values. And also employeeism, that a conscious employee does not want to work for a company that hasn't figured out how they're also having a positive impact on society. So really what we are trying to do on the individual entrepreneur level is help entrepreneurs to realize that your social impact platform does not have to be an expense. It doesn't have to be a distraction. It doesn't have to be that extra thing that you'll get to once you get everything else figured out. You can develop a social impact platform that is an asset, that is an incredibly valuable asset depending on your demographic, because if you don't have that, you're essentially going into battle with one arm tied behind your back. You're trying to convince customers to buy your product because it's a better value or because of your personal relationship with them. So if you really want to reach out to today's consumers, especially the young ones, we encourage you to really figure out what you can do with your platform. And again, it doesn't necessarily have to be what you're doing already. It just has to be what you plan to do once you get there. Because if you don't even have that part figured out, they're going to go looking elsewhere. You're not going to give them a reason to support you. So quickly, a little bit about our organization. Again, I know we don't have much time, but we have all of these different pillars that we are developing that gives us a unique advantage in terms of consulting with individual entrepreneurs, but also other entrepreneurial support organizations that we have an impact coaching and consulting coalition. We have a global social movement so that we are able to steer those future consumers to your future business. We also have an international network of NGOs that when it's applicable, we will go out and get the grants to go out and start these programs. And then we also have the impactful networks. Next Friday, we are globally launching the Impactful Women's Network, which empowers women personally, professionally, and with their investments. And in February, we are launching the Impactful Business Network, which is primarily geared in the beginning for entrepreneurs to bring you together with a peer support group of other people who also are ready to figure out the best ways to maximize their company's positive impact on society. Because again, if you have nobody else around you that is supporting you, it's going to be very difficult for you to figure it out on your own. You can come up with something good, but you're highly unlikely to get something great without a peer support network. And again, also bringing in our network, which brings together, it's really a nexus point, brings together top experts from academia, from government, from the corporate world, from the nonprofit world, and also day-to-day citizens. So you actually get that feedback on if your messaging is going to resonate, because messaging is just as important. Some of our clients come to us and they have a great social impact platform, but no idea how to authentically market it. They don't know how to build a community around their brand. They have no idea how to get somebody who doesn't buy their product to be their ambassador, to tell others about it. Getting your customers to tell others about your product, if you're any good, that's the easy part. Getting people who don't buy your product yourselves, but they still want to tell people about you, that's a hard part. That's something where you need that extra edge, that development. Our niche is called creative impact. And as you see, we call that the art of doing more good without just spending more money. There are so many assets available to the typical entrepreneur that they never even think to explore. So I will wrap up in 1 minute with some of those assets that are available to you. I just want to plant the seed right now for all of you to start thinking about some of these external stakeholders that you haven't considered yet. But I also want to first talk about halo effect, because this, as I said at the beginning, we work with individuals and with organizations. Every individual on this planet has a halo effect. Your business network, your personal network, who do you know and who do they know? And who can you get on your side if you can give them a compelling reason to be a supporter or an ambassador for your business? So skipping through several slides to the list of external stakeholders, the people that could be your allies, could be your best friends, could be your best strategic partner. Internal, those are the easy ones. Those are the, where if you go down and write a list, you're probably going to come up with all of those on your own. External, this is where things really start to get interesting and doors start to open up. Possibilities start to expand. Your general customers and suppliers. Potential customers. Again, if you're able to go out there and engage potential customers to help you figure out your company's possible social impact platform, yeah, they've already bought in to your concept. They're already trying to help you figure it out. And if they do that, then they're going to go ahead and most likely be your supporter. Media contacts, government contacts, academia contacts, also great. You run a brainstorming session with any of these contacts and they come up with an idea that you're able to implement, you better believe you've got an ally for life, because people love to support good ideas, but they absolutely love to support their own ideas if somebody takes the time to break that into reality. And again, a lot of times as an individual, most of these ideas that get thrown your way, you're going to have no idea how to do this, because social impact is not generally taught in business school. It's not really emphasized in most incubators. That you need a network. You need access to other people, both global experts and also your peers, your other similar business owners from around the world who are also trying to figure this out. And a lot of times the best way to learn is to teach. That if you participate in a brainstorming session for another business owner and you're able to give them a great idea, it might just spark your next great idea for your business. Wrapping it up with NGOs, again, general members of the public, that's the real sweet spot. If you get to that point when people are willing to volunteer for your company, even though you're not a nonprofit, when you get to that point that people will tell other people about your product or service, even if they do not buy from you themselves, now you've got something that money can't buy. Now you've got a community. Now you've got ambassadors. Now you've got something that you get each one of these to start thinking about how they can use their network to help you expand. Because no matter how big your network is, the network of your network is way, way bigger. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Trent Simons. Our next presenter is Victor Penev. He's CEO of Edaman, and looks like he's ready to go. So 10 minutes.
Thank you so
Victor,
much.
it's yours.
Yeah, can everyone hear me okay? Excellent, thank you. Thank you for inviting me for all the interesting presentations. I'm really excited to be here. I want to follow up on what the previous speaker talked about, the spirit of the game, because we do have our social mission as a first thing that we started the company with, and I'll talk a little bit about it. We are an innovative technology company and work a lot on creating a better world, but we started with a mission, and our mission was to help everyone on the planet eat better so that they can live long, healthy lives up to 120 years without chronic conditions and mental illnesses. We truly believe that food is the ultimate medicine, and that if people eat right, they can live up to 120 years without ever getting sick. So we set out as an organization to organize the world's food knowledge so we can give it back to people so they can make the right food choices and help them live long, healthy lives. That's been always the mission of the company. And similar to what the previous speaker said, we've energized networks around us to actually get going in that direction. And so we have lots of partners, not just clients, other companies that are interested in the space, NGOs, foundations, and just individuals that are doctors that are interested in making food the ultimate medicine. Ultimately, what we want to do is have people get off drugs and actually just eat to health and remove all chronic conditions in the world. So we started as a data company organizing the world's food knowledge. We wanted to provide that data to everyone. Initially, it was a direct-to-consumer company, but pretty soon we realized that people make decisions about food where they purchase or eat food. So they have many points in the day where they think about food. So we decided that we will change our business model towards business to business and try to meet the consumer everywhere that the consumer makes decisions about food. So those could be restaurants, green markets, doctors' offices, corporate owners programs, so on and so forth, technology companies they interact with. So we productized our technology, and I will talk a little bit later about the innovations that we do in our technology after all this in innovation conference. And we went out and started partnering with businesses. And you can see some of the businesses we partner with right now and the problems we solve for them. So the two primary problems are personalized meal recommendations. Those are usually driven by things like chronic conditions or allergens or diet preferences. But ultimate goal is get everybody to a healthy living. And those can be companies that are managing chronic conditions like Virta Health, or creating personalized nutrition around genomics like GenoPalette, or employee wellness programs like Zipongo, which is now called FoodSmart, or Nestle for Nestle Health. We also do nutrition data and analysis, just helping people understand what's in their food. And you might be surprised by Microsoft and Amazon, but in Microsoft, we actually powered all the nutrition data in their search results for recipes. So when a recipe comes up in Microsoft, the nutrition data comes from us, and we're just trying to educate the consumer what's in that recipe. Does it fit their allergen and diet needs, their caloric needs, their nutrient intake? Amazon, we help with answering questions on Alexa. And we obviously work with companies like Food Network and Barilla and McCormick. Ultimately, our goal, and lots of restaurants, dietitian offices, our goal, as I said, is to meet the consumer where they make decisions about food. It's the business model, and that's less relevant to the conference as it is, but it is useful to understand that we provide that data kind of on a usage basis. So the more the data is used, the more it's useful, the more economic impact for us, and obviously the more social impact. We provide the data through APIs or as licensed data sets. It is a very straightforward, easy to use model, and you pay only for the data that you use, not more, no less. So here we come to the meat of the presentation, our technology. So we've built, and all those big name corporations work with us because we've built arguably the largest database of meals and nutrition in the world, the most accurate data. So we have over 5 million recipes and close to 1 million foods, which we've analyzed and tagged for every nutrient, every allergen, every lifestyle diet, every chronic conditions, meal type, dish type, cuisine, glycemic index, CO2 impact, so on and so forth. And that data is very, very accurate. We've been actually measured against human nutritionists, and we know that we perform in accuracy better than a human nutritionist with 20 years of experience. So that is kind of our primary value provision. And it comes from a technology that we've developed in-house based on natural language understanding for the food domain space, which allows us to accurately analyze any free text about food. What we've done also is we've made this data very, very affordable. So we have over 100,000 developers, which I'll mention later, that are already developing applications on top of our database and APIs. And it starts only at $49 a month. So it's quite affordable and easy to gain access to. And the breadth and the depth of the data is really quite impressive. So for a lot of companies that need to access accurate, deep data, there's not that many places they can go. We want to become that place for every company in the food, health, and wellness business in the world, so that we can actually support our mission of helping everyone on the planet eat better. As I mentioned, we already have over 100,000 developers developing an API. We've become a little bit of a leader in our space, in the nutrition data space. People recognize us, people mention us, and not just our customers, but all kinds of folks. A lot of those 100,000 developers are, students or single developers, but eventually they move on and they remember how easy and useful our data was. So they become our ambassadors, whether they're clients or not. And with that, I will get close to the end of the presentation. There's not much to share here, but I do believe, and this is an appeal to everyone here on the panel and listening, that if you truly believe that food is ultimate medicine, come join us. We are trying to energize a global movement of companies, foundations, whether they're in agriculture, in precision medicine, academics in labs investigating the microbiome and food data. We want to get everyone around the table and solve the big problems of how we all eat better. more nutritious food with higher density, which also, translates into planetary health, because soil is the biggest fixer of carbon in the world, and it will probably help us eliminate a lot of the food waste out there as people eat less, and obviously help the people be healthier and not spend years in pain and chronic pain, and just live long, healthy lives up to 120. So our goal is really to get everybody on the planet to live to 120 without ever getting sick. So with that, I will conclude and just get inspiration from the 92 young lady that is doing the yoga pose on our slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Victor Penev. Do we have any questions? Let's have some questions for our panelists. No?
No?
Go ahead. I have a question. Do you have
Go ahead, Professor James Strong. Go ahead.
So Victor, I don't know how relevant this is, but what's your take on what happened in Sri Lanka in terms of the food crisis they had by turning to organics and mismanaging that? And does that have any implication for the kind of work that you're doing, or is it not relevant?
Anything that's related to food, I consider relevant. It's not directly relevant because we are a data company. We try to help people eat healthier food. I do believe that going back to regenerative agriculture is the way forward. But as in any time you replace an existing system with an old system or a new system, it doesn't matter. There's a transition period. I think what happened there is they most likely they mismanaged the transition period. But I think the general direction of let's get back to the land and grow food to support us is great. It's not necessarily let's just rely on the international networks and import rice and wheat from somewhere else. But again, in the short term, if the transition is not managed properly, it does create real problems and real pain. And that is true across the world. So the transition is more like 3 to 5 decades endeavor rather than 1 to 2 year endeavor. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's my thought.
I was just throwing it out there. Just this thought crossed my mind in terms of good intentions gone awry. I suppose they were good intentions in Sri Lanka. Dr. Hanadi, did you have a question? No? All right. Anybody else have some questions? All right. I guess I'm the question guy. Let's see. Dr. Al-Bawi, where are you at in terms of your prototypes for implementing the new approach to cancer detection? What's the status of your program and of your? I assume you have some prototypes based on the slides you showed us. Tell us what's going on in terms of implementing your technology.
Yeah, in terms of implementing the technology, so as I said that we develop in terms of designs, and now we fabricate already this design, and we combine both the softwares in terms of processing the data and the fabricated one. So this one have been done in our university for the time being. Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Essa Al-Kamali, he gave us a nice presentation on innovation, and talk to us about, was that innovation for the government to improve operations in the government, or is there translation from your program to the private sector to develop entrepreneurship in the private and innovation in the private sector? Talk to us about the relationship between your program developing innovation. I believe in the government sector and translating that to the private sector, or what the goals of the program are?
Yes, Professor. So we focus primarily on improving the innovation at the government sector level. Among the points that we discussed was among our partnerships with the private entities as well as academia, we are able to even further improve our innovation processes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Let's see. Dr. Simons, can you give us an example of a company that's used your program to advance their mission and be more successful?
Yeah. So first example to throw out there would be a travel company here in Zurich that they had a great social impact platform right from the beginning, because they set their company up to lead tours to wilderness protection areas and use some of the money. They basically charged extra to the people going on the tour, and they donated that money to protect the wildlife in that area. So in that sense, it's like, oh yeah, you already started from the right place. However, they didn't have any type of community. They hadn't gotten to that point of like, oh, if we create a community around this where we have events after people come back, we can not only encourage people to take a second tour with us and get them turned into our brand ambassadors, but we also can create buzz. We can make this from a one-off into a part of their lifestyle. That's something they affiliate themselves with around the world. Another example would be a tea company out of India that had been pretty successful. They started 11 or 12 different tea and coffee shops across India, expanded to Switzerland, and had a bunch of interest in an international franchise system. And they came to us because it's like, oh, we have people that want our business system. What can we do to make this impact? And the advice we gave them was, hey, okay, you have a $25,000 franchise fee right now. Why don't you up that to $100,000, but $75,000 of it is payable with social impact projects, and you make each of your franchises a member of that advisory board that weighs the proposals of prospective new franchisees, so they are making the decisions about their brand. You've given them ownership of the brand. You've let them have that ability to give feedback to other people about joining their network and using theirs. And you have something that creates a system that is both global and highly local, highly implemented there, while it all ties together.
Does your plan work for companies that have mundane products that are not, may not lend themselves to societal impact? Does this work for all different types of products? Or?
Absolutely. You pick a company, or if you want, I'll give you another one.
Go ahead.
All right. Guy owns a local sake shop. Wine from Japan. Pretty niche. Okay, what's the social impact, right? You're not going to go around and just give out sake to kids. Okay, that's one of those ones you're always looking. Okay, and yeah, I mean, you could give it to some nonprofits. I guess that would probably be some. But the idea we came up with him is, hey, why don't you run a sake tasting as a fundraiser for local nonprofits? He's like, oh, well, why would I do that? It's like, well, number one, if you offered sake tastings, it would be a way to supplement your sake shop. You're not currently doing that. And probably the reason you're not doing that is if you want to start a new arm of your business, you have to go out and find the initial customers. You have to develop the business plan and modify that. Whereas if the first ones you're doing are for nonprofits, they're not going to be super picky. You're giving something of value that lets them bring people in, re-engages with their support base. And when you're doing that, you're going to be able to hand out some business cards. So all the people who don't work for that nonprofit, but come to support that nonprofit, they're going to start thinking about having you do a sake tasting for their next corporate event, for their wedding, for whatever the case may be. So it's a way that you can actually, almost anybody can, in theory, go out and find a new arm of their business by first offering that good or that service to local nonprofits or to other local impactful businesses. And again, it's creating this synergy of what do I have that could be of use to anybody. Great. If you have assuming if you have a business, you have a good or service that's valuable. That is almost always going to be valuable to some type of nonprofit or other business that, again, you can have this snowball effect of doing it once and then getting the publicity from it so that you can do it again and again and again.
So essentially, this is a marketing tactic.
It's one of those ways. And one of the slides I didn't get a chance to show you is all the different ways a company can reallocate some of their existing spend, whether research and development, okay, marketing, public relations, team building, HR, all of these elements. Yeah, you go around a team building exercise in the forest where you do something and build something and have a competition and everybody feels fun because they got out of the office and got into nature and did something, had a little competition. Yeah, guess what? You take that same group of people and you go down and you run a community service project that actually helps some people. You're getting engagement. You're getting your employees to buy into your company's purpose and mission and feel better about going to work each day because they see that they're part of something that you're a company that's also doing good.
Very good. I think we have a minute or so. Anybody have a final comment or question or? It doesn't look like it. Okay, well, I want to thank our speakers for a very interesting session and wish you the best of luck on your programs. And thank you for sharing your experiences with us. And thank you, Dr. Hernandi.
Thank you, Professor.
Beverly? Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Beverly. How are you? Great.
I'm
Thanks.
okay. I'm
Professor.
here. Hi, Trent. Enjoyed your presentation.
Yes, Trent, who will join again in next presentation as a first presenter with different topics.
Oh, very good.
Yes,
Well, I know
yes.
Trent very
Yes,
well.
because
so-
Patrick Roney, he presenting in the keynote speaker, and he have other appointment. He lefting the next session.